Hey, so I took a class in seminary, and it was one of my favorite classes, and it was about Christian education, and it was really really good. And one of the things that the professor said, his name's John Muther, which, by the way, everything I'm sharing with you, you can find his lectures online at the RTS Reformed Theological Seminary app. So if you're interested in what I'm saying, you can just kind of pull that up, and he's got a whole course on there. It's really good. But one of the things that John Muther brought out was how the fact that we live in such a loud world. And there was a book that he read. I just haven't had time to get to it. But it was, the title of it was written by a Jewish woman. It was something like Living in a World That Won't Stop Shouting or something like that. By the way, I'm filming this outside so I can be in nature as I talk about silence. But anyway, she talked about that, about how, and the whole point of the book was to go across and just notice how loud everything is in America. It is loud. I remember I was listening to a British guy who came over here, and it was an interview, and he was not being derogatory, but he even mentioned this, like how loud things are in America. And it is loud. It's a very loud culture. The high-powered extrovert, that is what's prized above everything. If you're not a high-powered extrovert, then, if you're an introvert, that's today viewed as a borderline personality disorder. Something's wrong with you if you don't like to be in crowds and go around. Like, if you just want to, like, spend time by yourself for a little bit. I'm not talking about being a recluse. I'm just saying, like, if you prefer to have things quiet around you, it's almost frowned upon. It's interesting, though, and John Muther brings this out in this lecture, that like just under 100 years ago or so, or over 100 years ago, it was actually seen as a positive virtue if a person wanted to spend time in silence. It was seen like it was seen as a good thing. Like, look, that person has self-control. He's not out and about, doing things. He wants to actually be there and be meditative. So part of the book is that she went around to different cultures, different settings in America about what was all of these climates that were loud. And what do you think was the loudest? What do you think was the loudest atmosphere or the loudest place in America? It was the evangelical church. She actually interviewed a Presbyterian pastor who was a really big introvert, and it was just the struggles with him. But she measured the loudest place in America is the evangelical church. That is people get on Reformed theology, right, for being somber or for having quote unquote boring worship. And I mean, I heard a joke. There's actually a Presbyterian pastor was like, oh man, you want to go to heaven and you're going to worship God, it's going to be Presbyterian worship. Yeah, I get it. Sometimes it can be kind of dull. Okay, so fine. And it can be if it's not done in the right way. But you can at least understand the heart behind it, that it was to be meditative, be silent before the Lord, to really clear your mind and to remove a loud environment. I was at a General Assembly in the PCA, and the music was so loud during the Lord's Supper, I had trouble praying during the Lord's Supper because the music was so loud. That's what I'm talking about. And I'm not all against the people do some good things, and it wasn't all bad. So I'm not trying to hate. I mean, the PCA's had some beautiful music there. But in that instance, it was too loud. I couldn't focus. I just couldn't focus. And so when you get to, I think you can see this in the early church. It was much simple and at a much more primitive level in the books, the Bible, books of the Bible. I think you do see a more like simple, reverential service. And so this is the heart of Reformed theology. And this also extends, in my opinion, extends to Roman Catholicism and even Eastern Orthodox. And I've seen before, like, where there's been Eastern Orthodox, like guys like on Daily Caller, who have really criticized evangelical worship. And yet in the Middle Ages, they're the ones that brought out the super loud choirs, probably still have them today in some areas, and the overly loudness where it drowned out congregational singing. During the Reformation, that was one of the things it recovered, was bringing back congregational singing. And loudness also does not extend just to the ears. It can also extend to the eyes. How many times have you been in any type of environment and it's so loud in there and you can't focus almost? It's not just mentally, but even physically, it can be overwhelming. And so, I kind of say this as an apologetic in response. But regardless, okay. So what am I saying at the end of the day? Try to get out of the loudness sometimes. We have these phones that I'm loving, and I love podcasts. Oh, I love getting on YouTube. I love getting on stuff and looking at it. But sometimes it's good to just put it down, and even with your piety, when you're praying, get silent before the Lord. But even sometimes just go to an environment every now and then and just clear your mind and just think about things. And I know it's hard, it's being restless because this technology is programming us to stop. It's UNC. It's official now. UNC Chapel Hill recently did like a study. Technology is it's rewiring our brains. It's really not good. It can be a great blessing, and I'm not saying we shouldn't use technology. We just have to understand its harmful effects. I mean, there's a reason why Silicon Valley tech overlords didn't want their children having cell phones and stuff. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. So just try to find some time to really clear out and get out of the loudness. If you're an extrovert like my wife and you get recharged being around other people, there's nothing wrong with that. But there should be some times, like all of us, where we find some time to be silent before the Lord, and also just to get away from it all. I think we need that. I think we were wired for silence and to be out and about. In fact, even as I'm recording this, there's just this wonderful, beautiful breeze that's just hitting me right now, and it's something you can't really trade for. So I hope this was a help. Thought I would get out and do this in front of the trees. So blessings. Hope this was a help. May the Lord bless you and keep you.